Okay, so I've taken the case off, and the first thing I'm going to do, because I've got a pile full of brand new capacitors here, is I'm going to recap the power supply. One of the first things I've done is I've taken a picture of the power supply so I can tell where all the cables are going to go back onto. Then I pulled these off. I don't know if you can see there just how tarnished and oxidized those contacts are on that PCB there. You can see the ones on the left where I've cleaned them up, and the ones on the right the way I found it originally after 30 years or 40 years. And I'll show you how I clean them. Okay, I wouldn't recommend you do this on a regular basis, and I certainly won't be doing it, but given the 40 years of oxidization and tarnishing on those contacts, I'm going to use Auto Sol metal polish, which is basically a chrome cleaner. Now it is slightly abrasive, so you have to be careful not to use too much of it, not to do it for too long, and certainly not to do it very regularly, otherwise you'll take off any plating that's on those contacts. But after 40 years, I think we can afford to do this once every 40 years, because if I try to use anything else like non-abrasive, like alcohol or contact cleaner or anything like that, I could be here all day trying to take that level of tarnishing and oxidization off it. So we're going to use this. Okay, so we're just going to get in between and around. You can see just the black oxidization and tarnishing that's coming off when I do this. Get all around them, right in between. You can just see it all coming off. All around every side, right in between and all around. I mean, you can just see, look at the stuff that's coming off. I'm going to use some solvent cleaner. It's any kind of alcohol cleaner basically that will evaporate off afterwards. Spray a little bit onto this cotton bud and then clean around to get all the excess polish off. So just get in and make sure that you remove every last bit of metal polish off these pins, because you don't want it on there. In fact, I may just get the can and just spray it all over liberally afterwards, just to wash anything off that's left. You can see that it's still coming off, all the dirt in the residue. Okay, now that's all done, we're going to go ahead and start desoldering all these connections down here. And like I said, I've taken a picture beforehand so that I know where they're all going to go back afterwards. So I'm going to desolder all this stuff, and then I think there's 4 screws to come out, 1, 2, and then 3, 4 down here, and we'll get the PCB out for the power supply. Okay, so I've got all the capacitors swapped out in the PCB. Most of them measured okay, but some of the 10 microfarad ones, when I measured them, yeah, comes up with an ECR of 7.2 ohms, which is not good, and there were quite a few like that of the 10 microfarads, so that was worth doing. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean all this flux residue off the PCB. You can see where I've started to, with a screwdriver, just carefully break up all that sort of orange yellow crystalline stuff that's caked all over the bottom of the PCB, which is basically the flux residue. And then when I've loosened it all off, I'm going to use a flux remover liquid, which is really quite good and about the only thing I've found that takes it off correctly. Okay, that's the finished power supply PCB. Looking much cleaner. So now we've got that out, we've exposed the motor. So next job, rebuild the bearings in the motor.